This is interesting. They did a nationwide survey that found that when voters think of Donald Trump, the most common word that comes to mind is arrogant. When the same voters think of Hillary Clinton, the most common word they use is liar and truth. And when they think of Jeb Bush, the first word that comes to mind for real is Bush. Voters don't even care enough about Jeb Bush to come up with a word to describe him.
I saw it as a matter of convenience, and it was allowed. Others had done it. Yoga routines, family vacations, the other things you typically find in inboxes. Everybody's acting like this is the first time it's ever happened. It happens all the time.
Did you wipe the surface?
What, like with a cloth or something? Well, no. By the way, you may have seen that I recently launched a Snapchat account. I love it. I love it. Those messages disappear all by themselves.
Amid diving poll numbers, Hillary Clinton took a really different tone on her email server at a campaign stop in Iowa. Take a look at this.
There is so much evidence that if guns were not so readily available, if we had universal background checks, if we could just put some time out between the person who's upset because he got fired or the domestic abuse or whatever other motivation may be working on someone who does this, that maybe we could prevent this kind of carnage. So I hope that in addition to expressing sympathy for those directly affected, that this is maybe for the media, for the public, for elected officials, for every American, what it hopefully will finally take for us to act. I know people have raised questions about my email use as Secretary of State, and I understand why. I get it. So here's what I want the American people to know. My use of personal email was allowed by the State Department. It clearly wasn't the best choice. I should have used two emails, one personal, one for work. And I take responsibility for that decision. And I want to be as transparent as possible, which is why I turned over 55,000 pages, why I've turned over my server, why I've agreed to, in fact, been asking to and have finally gotten a date to testify before a congressional committee in October. And I'm confident that this process will prove that I never sent nor received any email that was marked classified.
This is fascinating, and I hate to tell the truth, but I'm going to tell the truth because I know how campaigns think, and nobody else is going to say this on the air. I'm going to say it on the air. The timing of this was suspect at best. When they knew that cable news networks were going to be 24/7 on a horrifying story that they wouldn't be able to help themselves from and look away from.
Should they have canceled
And this is when she dropped this. What do you mean?
Extreme views about women, we expect that from some of the terrorist groups. We expect that from people who don't want to live in the modern world. But it's a little hard to take coming from Republicans who want to be the President of the United States, yet they espouse out-of-date and out-of-touch policies. They are dead wrong for 21st century America. We're going forward. We're not going back.
Yeah, there are notes. That's written.
Them to ISIS
is
quite another. But there's no doubt in my mind, maybe it's just a politician in me, that they're like, let's distract. And look what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're talking about this offensive comment.
They do want to talk about something else. Yes, that's
instead of emails. But you know what? If she had just talked about it in a respectful, decent, humane way, we wouldn't be talking about it today. We'd be talking about her email. So
yeah. Her emails are one of her problems currently. Bernie Sanders is a problem. Her poll numbers, the Quinnipiac poll, and what people think of her truthfulness, which is obviously related to the emails.
60% of all registered voters say Clinton is not honest and trustworthy.
The fact that she's part of the establishment is a problem.
Yeah.
And under one of Joe Scarborough's rules of politics, what she's trying to do now is move at 1,000 miles per hour. To be moving so fast that she creates a lot of confusion.
the exact
and distraction.
rule is, if you want to be right with words, it's nobody ever stops you when you're going 90 miles an hour.
90 miles an hour.
And that's what she's doing.
Right. She's trying to go, and that rhetoric and frequent attacks on Republicans, using rhetoric like that, because I mean, this is probably the most over the line she's been, but she said other things like this, is to try to be going 90 miles an hour. And, you know, one thing Bill Clinton says is it's better to be strong and wrong than right and weak. She's
Right.
trying to look strong